Hey there folks, Champesk here bringing another audio commentary. Today there's actually a clan war going on at the moment between We Made Fox and World Elite. Obviously that's pretty much the sort of the dream sort of clan war for me at least, because you just have so many possibilities. They're just pretty much all the best players are in one of those two teams now, and so I think we're likely to see some really good games. I was going to cast a 2 versus 2, but considering that I won't say which team, but one team is currently up 2-0, I wasn't even sure if we were going to get to them, so I figured I may as well just cast one of these games instead. And I'm going to be doing SocceR versus TeD. It's on Twisted Meadows, obviously. And yeah, so basically, I wasn't sure if we were even going to get to. It could have been 4-0 based on these next two games, so I wasn't sure if we were going to get to the 2 versus 2. And I wanted to watch these live and didn't really want to rewatch it, so I watched the first about 5 minutes of this game and then decided to do this. And so as we can see, it's TeD's actually gone for a Death Knight with Unholy Aura first. I'm guessing he's done that actually because he's against Warden, and so he just wants to have the extra movement speed to get away. And also it looks like he could be doing some harassing here, and so he will be around that Warden a lot. It will mean he can't use Coil to steal, but certainly that will just annoy SocceR a bit more. And TeD, meanwhile, with a pretty open base at the moment, I'm sure he'll close it in eventually with some ziggurats, being chased back now by this Warden, who has now hit level 2. That's very nice for him, because it's going to mean that I doubt SocceR's actually going to pick a skill at this point, but I imagine he'll leave it open, and just so he can either choose Blink or Shadow Strike, depending on what he decides he needs later on. And TeD actually teching already. I'm a bit surprised, because you think this is a very open base, especially against a Warden. SocceR could definitely come in here, do some harassment. We'll have to see how this plays out. And meanwhile, SocceR actually going for second Ancient of 4. Obviously, you generally go for 2, both so you can get a fair few archers, because obviously Undead has a tremendous ability to harass, but also because again, when you're playing with a Warden, you really want to get that level 3 quite quickly, and having 2 Ancient of Wars allows you to creep a lot quicker. But TeD now actually rallying these creeps onto the Ancient of 4, but SocceR meanwhile just coming straight into TeD's base. I'm amazed by TeD's open base build here. It means he's going to lose at least 1 Acolyte here. And he could lose more, and since he's only recently started his tech, he's going to lose at least 2 Acolytes here. It is going to mean that he is going to mine a lot less gold, and that could cause a lot of trouble for him later on in the game. TeD is now running back with his Death Knight, but actually just about getting us around there on SocceR, not quite. And the Aura now coming into effect as well, but I don't think he'll manage to get it, because SocceR does have boots, although TeD actually buying boots as well. But obviously just the Death Knight won't be able to catch up everything, or catch up and surround that Warden, and the Warden going straight back in there. Obviously wants to get more Acolyte kills. I'm really surprised by this. I have no idea why TeD's gone for such an open build like this. Meanwhile, it looks like he will manage to at least chase that Warden out pretty quickly, and might even manage to save this Acolyte. And if he does, that'd be sort of very important, because obviously 2 Acolytes on gold really is going to cause trouble. And meanwhile, SocceR has been Ancient of War creeping here, but it looks like he has actually lost his Ancient of War. And TeD now coming in, so maybe making the best of a bad situation, finally getting a kill, so he has some experience now at least. And looks like he might try and clear up the remnants of these creeps. No, I think SocceR's going to scout this out, actually gets a detonate there to get a bit of experience off that skeleton, and doesn't hit the Death Knight, although obviously that doesn't matter because the Death Knight's still at full mana because he's only level 1. And SocceR now coming back in, and he might try and creep this out. I'm not creep out the remnants of this camp. It looks like he will, and there's not really much TeD's going to be able to do against this, because obviously he isn't even in yet, but he doesn't have Coil anyway, so SocceR could just use a Shadow Strike if he was really worried about TeD actually trying to steal that creep. And it looks like SocceR's going to take his time creeping. He's going to make sure that TeD's very far away before moving back into creeping, and almost getting surrounded there, not quite getting surrounded. I doubt he could hold that surround anyways, because he does have 4 archers coming alongside that Warden now. And that could easily take out 1 ghoul, especially considering there's no Coil at the moment. And TeD actually still level 1. He has now finally got to tier 2, and has rebuilt one of his Acolytes, rebuilding a second one. Still hasn't closed off his base though, and no tier 2 buildings or a second hero at this point. And that's because he just doesn't have any gold. He really only has 350 gold, and perhaps he wants to get an early Lich. I'm not exactly sure what strategy he's going to be going for at this point. Maybe SocceR's now going to buy or actually I guess TeD could buy a Naga at this point and then go for Lich third. That's pretty common, and also it means that when your Lich comes out, you can just buy an orb immediately rather than having to run back at some point. But I'm not exactly sure. SocceR now buying a Panda and immediately getting 1 Breath of Fire to get 1 ghoul kill. Looks like he might get another one as well, and SocceR really in the driving seat of this game at this point. Managing to get another Ghoul slowed now, and he might not be able to. No, it looks like he's not going to be able to get that kill due to some impressive micro. And SocceR actually brings out his Swiss Pistol to try and block off that Ghoul, but doesn't quite manage to. And it looks like this Ghoul will get away because the slowing effect will not come in yet, and so that Ghoul does get away. Pretty nice there by TeD, but still I don't really see what his plan is for this game. TeD manages to get us around here. SocceR does use his stuff and teleportation just to get out of there though. And meanwhile, some pretty nice creeping here by SocceR. Obviously you can just eat your way through these couple of trees and then get some pretty nice creeping there. Actually the sort of two better mercs are about to spawn now, and I think an ogre, a mud golem might actually work quite well for SocceR now. We'll have to see if he buys one. Actually it's not quite in stock yet and looks like he's leaving, so maybe he won't, but certainly against this paltry army from TeD, it's not going to do too much. And tier 3 tech now coming out for TeD, and a graveyard, but no slaughterhouses actually at this point. That's really surprising. Either he's forgotten them, or maybe he can't afford them or something. Yeah, actually he doesn't have much gold at the moment, but we should be seeing them go out pretty quickly if that is his plan. Actually I think TeD's now just creeping out with his ghouls. Obviously these two wardens go down really quickly to ghouls, and then you can just use all your ghouls to tank on that overseer. It takes a bit longer, but it tends to be worth it because you can just run back and pick up the item as well. And TeD's getting a bit closer to level 2, but the fact he's still level 1 and we're so far into this game now. We are actually 8 minutes into this game and TeD just has 2 level 1 heroes. That's pretty bad for him, but I think we will manage to get something out of this. He will manage to get something out of this sooner or later, because I imagine once he starts producing units, he will at least try and get level 2 pretty quickly, because he's not going to take a fight without coil. It's predicting out a big fight at least. And meanwhile, it looks like SocceR's now running around. He has now researched Nature's Blessing, so he can walk Nature's of War a lot faster. Actually, he only has one at this point, because he did lose that one to the Goblin Merchant, and so he will be able to just continue to creep. And obviously getting a high level panda is just so important. You can just do so much damage, and still no tier 2-ing. Maybe this is what this Acolyte's going to be going for now. We'll have to see. There's a slaughterhouse there finally, and it's actually building another building, dual slaughterhouse maybe? Yeah, dual slaughterhouse for TeD. So a pretty interesting strategy. Maybe we're going to be seeing Abominations. Abominations are actually pretty good against Warden Panda, because obviously Warden Panda do a lot of damage-based spells, and obviously Abominations, with sort of having more than, or almost 1200 hit points, really can sort of survive them well. Whereas something like Mass Frenzied Ghouls or something really just doesn't do as well, and because they all die so quickly. And SocceR just managing to creep up his panda. He'll get he will have pretty decent levels. Actually, has picked up a mud golem now, so a bit later, but certainly it probably still will be useful, considering TeD only has level 1 aura still. And TeD now with his first fiend as well. He did build that. We don't have a second crypt or anything, so no, actually, sorry, yeah, we had a second slaughterhouse, sorry. And so we might be seeing a transition into maybe fiends. Abominations, because obviously Abominations can tank a lot, fiends can do a lot of damage, especially in conjunction with the orb that TeD's now bought, and so that would be sort of a legitimate strategy if sort of peculiarly executed. And SocceR doing some very nice creeping though, and he's just massively outcrept TeD all game, just because TeD's gone for such a sort of a minimal so minimal early units, and Boots of Quathlos, that's pretty nice for the Warden, although I imagine he might just sell it, because it's certainly not as good as it would be on a Blade Master or a Demon Hunter. And the Acolyte here now, is TeD going to expand? This would be very gutsy of him, and certainly not a standard undead strategy as well, though actually TeD, having said that, TeD has been expanding a fair bit recently. He tried it versus Moon recently, and Moon just crushed him though, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. SocceR has pretty good map awareness, and especially with the Warden, which he's sort of using to bring around all the place, to just wander around all the place. So you've got to imagine that he's going to scout this expansion pretty soon. And for an undead expansion to pay off, it takes a really long time, because even though Necropolis is cheap, you need to put up a couple towers as well, and that's really going to take a long time. Although I guess it could work, because in conjunction with lots of Abominations, because you have the Abominations to tank, and then you can actually, if TeD sort of plays defensively, then I guess it could be an interesting strategy. It could work out well for him. We'll have to see. TeD does sort of like to play some really crazy strategies. He is really the only sort of undead innovator left, really. And I mean, certainly there's other undead players who play well, but certainly not ones who play like this, and or at least not who play against SocceR like this. And SocceR is now putting up his own expansion here by the looks of things, and TeD has his going up really close by, and actually is SocceR gonna no SocceR isn't going to go creep out that spot next, so he won't notice the dimension for at least a bit longer. Meanwhile, this invisible warden has been just watching. Actually, I'm surprising the warden. Actually, maybe the warden's gonna try and gas Shadow Strike to steal this overseer or something. Actually, SocceR's units now coming in as well, so I think we are gonna see a creep jack here, and Fan of Knives actually being used rather than Shadow Strike. I guess that's just so he can hit some of TeD's ghouls as well, do a bit extra damage. And this Death Knight is actually still level 2, so I think TeD's really sort of lacking in experience. I think this is going to cause some troubles later on, considering that it's 2-2 versus 3-4 at this point. I'm not sure what level the panda is, sorry. Yeah, 3-4, and actually some pretty nice items. Amulet of Spell Shield and Belt of Giant Strength, both very nice items, obviously against the Undead Nuke, and actually that Amulet of Spell Shield being passed to the Warden now, because obviously it's such a nuking target, and TeD just deciding to get out of there, but not before losing one Fiend. SocceR loses an Archer, but obviously that's much less important, and is SocceR now might actually creep out this spot here. Still, neither side has scouted the other's expansion at this point, and